Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're stepping right into the virtual studio to break down the sheer production magic behind the massive global hit, Flowers. We're gonna literally look under the hood of this track to see exactly how it was built, layer by layer. From the bass lines to the lush strings, we'll uncover the specific, kind of genius studio techniques that turned this song into an absolute cultural phenomenon. Now, the central mystery of this track is pretty fascinating. When you listen to Flowers, it feels exactly like a nostalgic 1970s disco funk record, right? It's got that classic groove. But at the exact same time, it's perfectly engineered to absolutely dominate today's modern streaming charts. So you might be wondering, how do producers actually manage to capture that organic, vintage feeling without sounding totally outdated? Well, the producers pulled off this specific vibe by blending classic vintage textures with super crisp modern pop clarity. They built the song completely from the ground up, using organic instruments, highly processed modern drum techniques, and some deeply emotional chord progressions. The result? A track that feels wonderfully familiar, yet completely brand new. Alright, let's dive straight into this layer-by-layer deconstruction. We'll be looking at the anatomy of the hit, gating and layering the drums, lush textures and layering strings, the absolute magic of ear candies, and finally, how it all comes together into the final masterpiece. Starting off with part 1, the anatomy of a hit. We really need to look at the rhythmic foundation that anchors the entire groove of this song. Because let's face it, every great pop track relies heavily on its bass. The actual heartbeat of the track is this incredibly funky, muted P-bass playing a steady A minor, D minor, G, C progression. But you know, it's not just your standard pop bass. It surprisingly blends that classic 70s disco energy with a bouncy staccato twang that actually borrows a lot from Norteño and Tejano music styles. By slightly muting the bass, it gives us this beautifully percussive, skipping rhythm that literally forces your shoulders to move. Moving right along to part 2, gating and layering drums. Let's look at the drums that finally kick in during the chorus, because this is where the song truly opens up and the production gets incredibly clever. There's this really stark contrast at play between the raw, vintage drum samples and the modern hits. The producers took these very dead, muted 70s-style kick drums with long tails and contrasted them with highly processed, snappy, modern pop snares. This gives the drums a deeply nostalgic flavor, for sure, but with the harsh, punchy attack you absolutely need to cut through a modern pop mix. So here's the crucial detail. It's all about how they treated the claps right underneath that snare. By intentionally leaving the layered claps a bit sloppy, a cool technique known as flaming, where they don't hit perfectly on the grid, the producers created a massive, live-sounding smack. And get this, they actively tuned those claps and snare samples to the note E, which is a perfect fifth above the song's key of A minor. This little trick ensures the massive drum sound harmonizes perfectly and never clashes with the lead vocals. Pretty brilliant, right? Now, to get that exceptionally tight drum feel in the first half of the chorus, the producers employed an incredibly effective technique known as sidechain gating. Instead of letting the cymbals just ring out, they used a hidden signal to chop them up and keep things tight. So, how does the sidechain gating process actually work? Well, by setting up a completely silent trigger track hitting on quarter notes, a gate plugin automatically cuts the volume of the drums whenever that trigger goes away. It means the natural tails of the cymbals and hi-hats are sharply cut off. This gives the entire track a choppy, intensely driving momentum. It's a subtle trick, but it completely transforms a standard drum loop into an absolute powerhouse of a dance groove. Alright, let's jump to section 3, lush textures and layering strings. Let's see how these melodic textures build up, because right before the hook, the song introduces strings that elevate the track into something completely cinematic. The string arrangement here brilliantly layers multiple elements. They didn't just use one simple sound. Instead, they layered a synthetic string plugin, bass with organic, analog synth sweeps, and deep foundational cellos. Layering synthetic and organic strings like this creates an unpredictably lush, super wide sound that feels straight out of a premium 1970s studio session. You can kind of think of these studio effects as the chef's secret seasoning. To make these strings feel incredibly authentic, they ran them through emulations of classic vintage gear.
They used a Neve preamp for analog saturation, a tremolator for that awesome retro vibrato, and an EMT 140 plate reverb for sweeping, atmospheric space. But most importantly, they used an OTT plugin to literally bring out the high-frequency hair on the strings. This makes the digital instruments sound like real physical bows scraping across real strings in an actual room.
Okay, moving on to section 4, the magic of ear candies. Let's explore what is arguably the absolute coolest part of modern pop production. These are the secrets behind why you can listen to a song 50 times and still discover new things. If you're wondering what ear candies actually are, they're those tiny, incredibly carefully placed sonic details that might completely go unnoticed if you aren't actively listening for them. But subconsciously, they completely hook your brain. They're what elevate a track from just a basic run-of-the-mill beat into a dense, undeniably sticky hit. The verses of this track are absolutely packed with hidden details. We're talking filtered glass percussion hits, all tuned differently to create this cool sense of movement. There are reverse filtered synths quietly swelling to build tension, and shakers chopped up at incredibly low volumes just to push the groove forward. And honestly, my favorite part is that nasal oboe-like synth acting as a conversational responder. Every single time the vocal line pauses, this flying mirror synth reflects the melody right back, making sure the empty spaces of the track are always packed with fascinating, hooky detail. Finally, let's head into section 5, the final masterpiece. We're going to step back and look at how all these incredible layers, the twangy bass, the gated drums, those lush strings, and the sneaky ear candies, all blend together into the finished product. Now, a lot of conversation surrounds this track's relationship to Bruno Mars' When I Was Your Man. Setting aside the objective legal discourse and the copyright lawsuit currently playing out regarding the lyrics and chord progressions, structurally, we can see how the production here completely flips the script. It takes the conceptual DNA of a 73 BPM stripped back emotional piano ballad and re-engineers it into a 118 BPM empowered strutting funk anthem. It is an incredibly clever musical pivot. One of the song's most vital tricks is something called the slingshot effect. By completely muting the instruments for just a split second, right before the chorus, right on beat 1, the producers use the psychological impact of negative space. They pull the listener back like a slingshot in that sudden silence, making the groove feel unbelievably explosive and cathartic when the full band finally hits on beat 2. You don't just hear the chorus. Because of that tiny moment of silence, you literally feel it. It's honestly amazing how much science and deliberate engineering goes into just making us tap our feet, isn't it? So next time you listen to your favorite pop hit, ask yourself what hidden layers and invisible ear candies are secretly manipulating your emotions. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep your ears open, listen closely for those gated drums and sneaky ear candies, and I promise you, you'll never hear the radio the same way again.